Hey there, this is Pat Ennis of Ennis Legacy Partners. Welcome to the Exit Readiness Podcast. I'm here with my co-host Walter Dial, CPA and tax partner at Gelman, Rosenberg & Friedman in Bethesda, Maryland. Our mission here on the Exit Readiness Podcast is to provide you, the business owner, with subject matter expertise on topics pertaining to both building sellable business value and for planning your eventual exit from the business. We want to help you, the business owner, exit your business successfully and on your own terms and conditions. Walter, when a business owner is building to sell and an owner who has a sellable business has many more options for exit, when it comes to strong financial performance, describe to the listeners what we're referring to. When we talk about strong financial performance, what are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about a couple things. I think one of the most critical areas is the cash flow of the business. So that's the bottom line. But buyers are just as interested in the top line. They really want to see if revenue is increasing year to year. That gives them a better gauge of the future potential of the company. There's different things you can do that can manipulate bottom line income. You can slash expenses and things like that. But the top-line revenue number is a really good indicator of the financial health of the company and its potential going forward.
Yeah, that's right, Walter. One of the most used marketing tools these days to drive sales revenue is LinkedIn. Many people are using LinkedIn to market their businesses, their products, services, and they're doing it effectively. And then there are others who are doing it not so effectively or not at all, due to a lack of knowledge and understanding. And so we have with us today a proven expert on all things LinkedIn. Our guest today is Kelly Leonard. Kelly's the CEO and co-founder of Taylor Lennox Corporation. And our topic is the critical mistakes that keep you from growing your top line on LinkedIn. And in introducing Kelly, let me just first begin by sharing how Kelly and I met about 6 years ago. My son was attending some Bible studies during the summer of his 15th or 16th year, and he told me about it, and he said they were involved with an organization called FCA, or Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I'd never heard of them before. And so it was late on a Saturday evening, 10:30 or something. I'm sitting on the couch, and I wanted to learn more about this organization and these Bible studies that my son was going to. I went into the local chapter, looked up the board members of the chapter on LinkedIn, one of which being Kelly Leonard. And as soon as I looked at her profile, probably 10 seconds later, I get pinged by Kelly Leonard introducing herself and wanting to know if I'd like to connect. I did. And probably about 30 minutes later, I'm on the board of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and all kinds of other crazy stuff has happened since Kelly and I met 6 years ago through LinkedIn. Kelly's a consultant. She's a speaker, corporate trainer, focused on delivering strategies that accelerate professional brands for business success. She MCs the Montgomery County television show Small Business Network. She's the host and organizer of the Montgomery County LinkedIn Local. She's a nonprofit board member, as I mentioned. She's the area developer for Nehemiah Project Ministries. Friends, Kelly is a very talented and a very busy lady. It's rare for me in my networking efforts to meet someone who does not know Kelly at this point. And Walter, you'll love this. She has a BS in accounting from Virginia Commonwealth University, and she's a CPA to boot. So, Kelly, my friend, welcome to the podcast.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. I'm blushing, Pat. Thank you. Thanks for the great introduction. And Walter, it's a pleasure meeting you as well. As a recovering CPA, I have tremendous respect for you, my friend.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to this because, like I always tell Pat, I probably learn as much during these podcasts as our listeners do. And I definitely fall into that second group that Pat described, the group that is very ineffective in using LinkedIn. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you're going to share with us. So right out of the gate, what are some ways that you've seen businesses successfully use LinkedIn to increase their sales growth?
It's interesting. There are so many different ways out there. And I know for us personally, so much of it has been really focusing in on having a strong brand. We through the years have developed our own methodology called a B.O.O.S.T methodology, and it's called B.O.O.S.T for a reason. Because to your point, in order for us to speed up, we kind of have to slow down first. To be quite honest with you, Walter, one of the things that we have been able to do is really tap into markets, tap into the community that we serve, our ideal buyers, by really focusing in on first building a really strong brand, then moving into optimizing relationships. But really, it all comes down to just leveraging the technology, using the technology in the processes that I guarantee most of your listeners are already involved in. They probably have some sort of business development strategy, sales strategy, or sales focus, sales funnel, and not letting LinkedIn to replace what they're already doing, but using it to augment or supplement what they're currently doing. They may, for example, know that next week they're meeting with ABC company. Well, why not use a tool like LinkedIn to do the due diligence initially to identify those points of affinity with those business owners or that decision maker that you might be meeting with next week, so that going into that meeting, you have some initial information to build relationship before you then start jumping into business speak. So essentially, all I say is, LinkedIn, it just is designed to compress the time that it takes for us to get to yes. So compressing the time that it takes for us to get to know, like, and trust another person so that we can get to yes quicker.
Yeah, well, that's good. Getting to yes quicker is always good, isn't it? So do you find, Kelly, that certain types of companies are more successful in leveraging LinkedIn for business development than other companies?
Well, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think the ones that are most successful in leveraging are the ones that are there because showing up is, first and foremost, the most important thing. And, and it's interesting because oftentimes I'll have folks say, oh, well, I'm in the B2G or B2B or B2C space. So business to government, business to business, business to consumer. But at the end of the day, we're all selling to humans, right? It's the human that's writing the check. It's the human that's making the buying decision, yes or no. And so really at the end of the day, if whomever is your decision maker is a human, as long as they are a business professional, then, you really want to claim your space on LinkedIn. Now, the challenge is that if you know that your buyer is in a specific demographic. Let's say, for example, I run a financial services firm and I know that my buyer are Caucasian women between the ages of 45 and 60 that are in 20879 zip code and who, are of a particular faith. Well, then Facebook might be where I can drill down and identify the specific demographic of my buyer. But then from there, what I would say is you then want to then use some of that information that perhaps you're getting, that you're curating out of Facebook, and then find that person on LinkedIn, because chances are that person's going to be on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn really for the business professional becomes the more credible place for us to start building relationship, because what we're seeing is a migration of people, business professionals in particular, away from platforms like Facebook because of some of the challenges that they're having from a security and from a legitimacy perspective. Whereas, thankfully, LinkedIn has done really well in making sure that they're successfully navigating some of the security and other challenges that some of the other platforms are faced with. Now, the thing also to consider is, pound for pound, when you line up the other social media platforms, by and large, your Fortune 500s, your Fortune 100s, all of your major government entities. So if those are your buyers, you're going to find them on LinkedIn, whereas you may not be able to find them on Facebook. And or if you find them on Facebook or one of the other purely social media platforms, they may be on there for purely social reasons. Like in my case, like being on Instagram or Snapchat, things like that, or to kind of watch the behaviors of my children or maybe the younger interns, the millennials that we're trying to attract. It's a whole different reason why I'm there. And so the probability of maybe me connecting or having the willingness to connect with my ideal buyer on some of those purely social platforms is lower, as opposed to if they reached out to me on LinkedIn, I'm more likely to want to engage with them there.
That's really interesting. So are you seeing any trends in LinkedIn that we should be aware of?
Yeah, it's funny because the trends, some of them I cringe a bit at. And they're on both sides, right? The trend that I see from the users is that I see more and more profile users are crossing the lines of LinkedIn etiquette, meaning they're doing some of what I call critical mistakes. They're leading with a lot of sales speak. They're approaching me as a stranger, and I'm guessing if they're approaching me as a stranger, probably folks that are tuning in are seeing the same thing. Where right out of the gate, people are spamming you, so to speak, and I'm throwing up air quotes. They're spamming us with content, leading with sales speak, really not attempting first to build relationship before blasting us with what feels like spammy sort of sales pitches. So I'm seeing a lot of that from the user perspective, as well as an increased number of generic requests to connect. So rather than providing the context by which a person is looking to connect with me. So a great example might be I'm just walking out of a networking event. So what I'm seeing is people just, without saying, hey, Kelly, it was great meeting you at the chamber event, they're just immediately launching into these generic, hey, I want to connect with you, without providing any context by which they're looking to connect with me. So I'm seeing trends along those sides where they're spamming and there's sort of these generic requests to connect. Now, on the platform side, some of the trends that I'm seeing are this adoption of more social types of integrations inside of the LinkedIn platform that are really designed to help us as the users to have more collaboration and connectivity. So things like the video, so LinkedIn Live, so people shooting live video, the increase in the use of hashtags to connect with our ideal buyers or with our tribe who might be following a particular hashtag. So in the case of you all, maybe you're seeing the use of mergers and acquisition or valuation, but really being able to use those hashtags as a mechanism to connect with the types of buyers that you're looking to engage and do business with. So there's some really great trends that I'm seeing on the platform side that are really designed to mimic some of what's been used successfully in some of the other social media platforms. But again, on the user side, I'm seeing some blurred lines in crossing the LinkedIn etiquette side of the platform.
Yeah. So, hey, Kelly, you what you just mentioned a few minutes ago in regard to the spamming piece.
Yes.
So is there any value for companies then to advertise on LinkedIn? And, you hear so much about, historically, we've heard so much about Facebook ads and Google ads, but I don't know that we hear as much about LinkedIn ads, or maybe I just don't. Maybe everybody else does and I just don't, but it just seems like Facebook ads, Google ads have been more prominent. And so, and is there any value for companies to advertise on LinkedIn in light of what you just said about spamming?
And that's a great question, Pat. So I'll throw a question back to you and Walter. How many times have you seen a LinkedIn ad and you've responded to it? How many ads have you clicked on?
0.
But I don't know for your target market, Kelly.
So no, but that's my question. My question oftentimes, because it's funny, I have tons of clients will ask me that question. Hey, is there any value to advertising on LinkedIn? And so I ask them, I'd say, I don't know. Is there value to advertising on LinkedIn? How many ads have you clicked on? And so, so you have to ask yourself if your behavior is much like the buyer that you're attracting. So you have to ask yourself, is there value that? But now the other thing that I would say is, okay, well, let's slow down and wind this thing back. As with any marketing or advertising strategy, you've got to be committed for the long haul, right? Oftentimes, LinkedIn, of course, does a phenomenal job of enticing us with, $50 off or, all of these discounts for us to advertise. But, 30 days of advertising will get you nothing. I mean, it may get you a few looks, but you've got to be committed for the long haul. Now, part of the reason that I think, when you think of Google ads and Facebook ads, the differentiator between that and LinkedIn ads is I think price. It's relatively, it's an affordable proposition to advertise on Facebook and or Google ads. Now, a bit of a different scenario on LinkedIn. You've got to have a pretty decent budget in order to really get some bang for your buck, get return on your investment for advertising on LinkedIn. But again, I always go back to, okay, are you anything like the buyer that you're trying to attract? And if so, how many ads have you clicked on recently? And if you haven't, then you've got to ask yourself, really, is that where I'm going to get the most bang for my buck? Now, I would, and this is me personally speaking, I would say no. And I would say you've got to slow down in order to speed up. There is going to be some value in sort of taking the tortoise versus the hare's approach in building relationship inside of LinkedIn. We always look at technology and we think that it's the magic bullet, and to a certain degree, it is the magic bullet when you're talking about being able to pull information and dissect it and sort of analyze it at unprecedented speeds. But when it comes to relationship development and business development, there's nothing like picking up the phone, making a call, grabbing coffee, meeting face to face with people. So for as amazing as the technology is, for as wonderful as the LinkedIn platform is, some of these good old fashioned strategies that I'm sure you and Walter and I and many of your listeners have come up on, those things will never go away. And they're not going to be replaced by, what's new and shiny in terms of advertising and things like that. That's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in light of that, when we're helping a business owner, Kelly, think about how to build their business so that it is sellable. Because again, when you have a sellable business, you have more options for exit. You have more freedom. You have more control. A lot of benefits to building a sellable business. And as Walter talked about right at the outset, a key value driver, of course, is financial performance, and that would include revenues and profitability. So would you say that that effective, to summarize, how would you say LinkedIn can be used most impactfully to drive the top line sales revenue? Would it be through just using it to compress that yes and to, set the stage to have coffee and build a relationship and just do it that way? Or could it be a combination of that with the LinkedIn ad? How would you answer that question?
So I would answer it a number of different ways. So when we're talking top line, we're talking, hey, I need to connect with my buyer, correct? Because at the end of the day, it's me identifying who my buyer is and then putting strategies in place to start building relationship with the buyer in order to drive sales. And so there's sort of the approach that I always suggest to our clients is first and foremost investing in building your brand on LinkedIn, making sure that your profile it articulates your value and the service that you provide, making sure that you're tuning into the love language of that buyer. So, which is essentially tuning into WIIFM. What's in it for me? So making sure that your profile is written in such a way where it attracts your buyer. So it's got those keywords that your buyer might be looking for, so that now it increases the probability that your profile is going to come up in a search result. Because here's the thing, Pat, people know what they're looking for. They don't know who they're looking for. And so many buyers are using LinkedIn to identify resources. They know they have a problem. I'm in the process of trying to sell my business and I know that I need to increase the value. And so perhaps I'm looking for people with expertise in valuation or business development. And so I'm using those keywords because I know what I'm looking for, not who I'm looking for. Now, the challenge becomes that, okay, if I am the solution to that problem, is my profile written in such a way where it leverages LinkedIn search engine optimization so that it increases the probability of me coming up in a search? So a great example might be I'm sitting in, this room right now talking to you. If I have a hankering for Thai food this afternoon, but I don't know what's in the area, I'm going to go onto Google and I'm going to search for Thai. And the desire is for establishments, restaurants in this immediate area, for them to come up in the search result. Because again, I know what I'm looking for, but not who I'm looking for. And so now when my restaurant comes up in that search, now I'm giving my buyer, hey, I'm that solution to the problem that you're having. And so now when my name comes up, when my profile comes up in that search and the person then clicks on my profile, my message needs to be compelling enough to see that I am the solution to that person's problem. So in other words, it needs to articulate how I'm going to help them save money, make money, create efficiency, solve problems, bring peace of mind, which is then going to increase the probability that they're going to reach out to me perhaps to say, hey, Kelly, I found you on LinkedIn. Would love to have a conversation with you about how you might be able to help my company. Or, hey, I see that you provide valuation services. Or, hey, I see you're a CPA. I need your services. How can you help me? I need to schedule a call with you. And so that's the one thing, is really making sure that you have a strong brand. But the other thing is optimizing relationships. So that's the first O in B.O.O.S.T. So because the thing is you've got relationships in LinkedIn. You've got probably connections who, number one, maybe they know what you do, but they don't know that you have a need or a desire to do more of what you're doing. Or perhaps, you've never had a conversation with them. It blows my mind the number of people that have a network of hundreds, maybe thousands of people, but they don't know what the people in their network do, and vice versa. Because that really serves no purpose. For you to just have thousands of connections and be able to brag about the fact that you've got these connections, but you're not in a position to serve them or they serve you, it really negates the purpose for us to be on LinkedIn. I would say investing in optimizing those relationships. What that looks like, Pat, is me calling you perhaps and scheduling a call to say, hey, Pat, I want to learn more about your company, share some things about mine, and see if there might be ways for us to help one another. And you'd be amazed in those short 5-minute conversations, what opportunities might bubble up. Where, hey, you may tell me, hey, Kelly, I'm looking to support more companies who want to increase their value. Oh my gosh, Pat, I know some folks. I just talked to somebody yesterday who's looking to sell their company. You should connect with Linda. Linda's looking to sell. And so that's where, really the magic happens inside of LinkedIn, because again, we just can't sit behind the computer and think that it's going to do the talking for us without investing the time to share what our needs are and to find out what the needs are of our network in order for us to help them to grow their top line. Does some of those things kind of make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So, Kelly, you've kind of told us what the B and the first O stand for in B.O.O.S.T. I'm assuming the B is branding, and then optimization. Yes. What's the rest of the acronym?
So the next is O, so obtain more leads, because the goal is once you build your brand, once you start optimizing those relationships, the next goal is to, increase sale. It becomes a phenomenal lead generation tool. And so the second O is obtain more leads. Then from there, the S is secure thought leadership space, because now that you've got a captive audience, your brand is on point, folks know who you are, they know what you do. Now it's using the tool as a mouthpiece for you to share what's going on. So for you to share information, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in your industry? What's the information that the people that would be the most likely to buy from you, what kind of information might resonate and be relevant to them? So if you're seeing trends, for example, in valuations, what do those trends look like? How can you share information to help me to prepare for a sale? And sharing, whether it's your original content, 5 strategies to increase your business valuation, or maybe you're repurposing content. I'm sure there's probably all sorts of industry and trade associations that are producing content and information that you're reading, and you might be repurposing content that you read on Entrepreneur or Inc. magazine or something like that, that you're now repurposing and sharing your opinion on perhaps information that's trending inside of your industry. Or maybe you want to highlight one of the great ways that you've helped a company or a client increase their valuation. There's all sorts of ways that you can share your thought leadership inside of the platform. Maybe it's you're putting up a short video using LinkedIn Live, that video application, because of course, you've got some people in LinkedIn that love to read. Others like to view and listen to video content. So sharing your thought leadership space, and then that T, tap into new markets. Because as you're doing this, the B.O.O.S., you're undoubtedly going to have the opportunity to also to tap into new markets. So it's using LinkedIn as that tool to identify and build relationships in perhaps new industries. Maybe what you do serves a global marketplace. So now how are you using perhaps LinkedIn's advanced searches to identify buyers who might be outside of your immediate geography? So there's all different strategies and ways to live out and actualize the B.O.O.S.T methodology. As a matter of fact, the reason why we label it the B.O.O.S.T methodology is because the idea is to help accelerate the business growth, using this methodology to accelerate business capacity, business growth, so that you can increase that top and bottom line. By us implementing this strategy inside of our small business, within about the first 24 months, we were able to generate an additional $500,000 of consulting revenue through LinkedIn. And so we know that it works. And I've had the opportunity through the years to sort of share this methodology with over 7,000 business professionals throughout the Metro DC area.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, so Kelly, look, as we wrap up here, share with the listeners any parting words of wisdom or advice for and next steps. And actually, too, if you would take a minute or two and promote your next B.O.O.S.T and whatever else you want to promote. Just we want listeners to understand how you can help them in maximizing LinkedIn.
Absolutely, Pat. And again, thank you and Walter for putting together this platform, because I know I've been a consumer of your content and it is absolutely extraordinary. So thank you guys for what you do. The things, if I could just leave a couple of parting words with folks, is number one, just show up. Show up to the platform. Make sure that you've established a really strong presence inside of LinkedIn. And also don't just show up in a way that's really going to build your credibility. One thing that I think so many people are blurring the lines on is LinkedIn etiquette. Be mindful of the etiquette. When you think of LinkedIn, think of a boardroom. It's a giant boardroom of over 600 million people. More than 600 million people globally are showing up in this boardroom. And so think of it just like in the traditional sense of showing up to a regular boardroom. There's things that you're going to say and do in a boardroom that you would never do in a barbecue, and vice versa. So when you think of social media, think of LinkedIn as your boardroom, and all the other social media platforms are your barbecue. And so you want to show up appropriately. And when you show up, again, in the regular sense, when you show up in a boardroom setting, you don't want to just take a seat at the table. You want to be there and you want to be alive. You want to make sure that the information that you're providing is accurate, that you're locatable, that you're impact, that you're value-based, and that you're engaging throughout the course of you being in that boardroom. So, that would be my parting thought in terms of just the approach that people take to being in LinkedIn. Don't just show up, be present, be alive inside of the platform. In terms of just, if anything that I shared with your listening audience, if anything resonated, I would love to stay connected. Feel free to share or reach out to me via LinkedIn. Make sure you send a personalized request to connect and let me know that you heard me on the Exit Readiness podcast.
No spamming.
Context by which you're exactly no spamming. And and if you want more information, feel free to visit us online. You can best place to find us would be our website, which is boostmylinkedin.com. Again, that's boostmylinkedin.com, or certainly you can head over to kellytleonard.com as well.
Fantastic. So, Walter, what do you think? What do you think key takeaway today would be?
Well, I think for me, one is, I think personally, I kind of dabble in LinkedIn and a lot of other things rather than really, like Kelly's saying, making a commitment to really showing up in LinkedIn. And I think that could be really, really helpful.
You kind of drop in occasionally?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, kind of, sort of.
Exactly. Uh-huh. So I think that's a really good word of advice is, either get out or commit. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. And I would say boost. Get to know that acronym and just, I love acronyms like that because it helps us to remember the key strategies and key action items. So Kelly, thanks again. Queen of LinkedIn, always grateful for you and interacting with you in any kind of context. Folks, reach out to Kelly and boost your top line revenues with maximizing LinkedIn. And also to begin now in planning your successful exit, check out exitreadiness.com, where you'll find our online exit planning course, and nslp.com for information on our next Exit Readiness Base Camp, which is a one-day workshop that we're holding again here at the Learn Center in Rockville, Maryland. And if you'd like to speak with either Walter or myself regarding building the value of your business or planning your exit, you can reach Walter at 301-951-9090. And you can reach me at 301-859-0860. So until next time on the Exit Readiness Podcast, this is Pat Ennis and Walter Dials signing off.